Today we're doing a follow-up interview with Tim Kanak, owner of Perkins Roofing. Tim has one of the most successful roofing businesses in South Florida, and we're excited to hear about his exponential growth since the last time we spoke. And for those of you who haven't seen his original video, we'll place a link in the description below.
Home services market is very, very hot right now for private equity.
Okay.
I have gotten actually a decent amount of offers on my business because private equity really wants good home service businesses because they see what's happening with AI. I was an expert in my field when I started the business. Mm-hmm. Now you have people who are money people trying to learn this and run this business.
Yeah.
They're not experts in the field. So you have a lot of bad information going around and a lot of bad habits happening. I am consulting actually right now for a few companies where there's other roofers and even non-roofers where I'm helping them build pricing systems. I'm helping them with their roofs. I'm helping them do accounting and stuff like this because a lot of them don't know this stuff.
Sure.
They'll be like, okay, I'm a great roofer, whatever, but they have no idea how to track work in progress accounting on a job. Basically, Florida insurance, you have to have certain age roofs. Like if you could have a perfectly good roof that's 20 years old and get that letter from the insurance company and says, hey, sorry, your roof's 20 years old, you need to re-roof it. And insurance makes you re-roof. So
yeah.
It's great. It's bad for the homeowner, but it's great for the roofer because we just have all this work coming to us, even for perfectly fine roofs. We basically know exactly how much money that we are at on any job on any given day. So you could open up, you could tell me, okay, are you making money on this job that you have? Whatever. I can look it up and tell you, okay, I have made this much cash flow so far on this job, and I am at this exact price point on expenses on this job.
Sure.
For any of my jobs in Miami or Jupiter on any given day.
What would you say a realistic first year earnings estimate is for someone that is starting a franchise under your program? So you've got a metal roofing project coming up. What can you tell us about that project that you guys are doing?
So we have a metal roofing project coming up that is 3 buildings. It's a commercial project that is right here in Jupiter on Indiantown Road.
Nice.
And it is currently concrete tile. And they wanted to do metal, and I had to go, it was a kind of a mission to deal with the city because we are changing the look of these buildings that are just like right across the street from City Hall, right?
Interesting.
So City Hall, they're like looking at the windows, like, okay, I can see those buildings, right? So a project like this is kind of important because it is on a main road. The guys are definitely gonna, everything's gonna have to be OSHA, it's harnessed up, stuff like that. So you're really gonna be on top of your game on something like that where it's very visible, where everyone driving by is gonna see you.
Yeah.
So on this project, it's 3 buildings that are going from tile to standing seam metal. And there's a little river that kind of curls around right next to the building. So it's gonna be aluminum panels. Since it's on the river, we can't put steel. It's way too close to that river where it's salt water from the ocean can wash down the river. Because the river is a tributary to the ocean.
Yeah.
So we're doing 032 aluminum on that, and we had to also at the same time maintain a Mediterranean look since the buildings currently have like a S tile, which is a Mediterranean style tile.
Yeah.
And we want to maintain that look, so we had to run like 5 different colors through the city to say, okay, is this Mediterranean enough for you to make sure that we maintain that Mediterranean look that the city approved of for the buildings.
That's wild, but it's gonna look awesome, I'm sure, when it's done.
Yeah, it's gonna look great. The tiles that are there now are like a red terracotta style.
Okay.
And we're going toward like a brown kind of look. But it still looks Mediterranean. The tiles is kind of funny. We were joking with the city officials. We're like, look, the tiles are so dirty that they're brown anyway, so it's the same color. So that's kind of like what we're going with on the building and for the look. And it's in this complex. 2 of the buildings are 2-story. One of them is a really big 1-story building, and on the 2-story buildings, we're using these trucks that have hydraulic lifts.
Okay.
So the dump truck, the dump bed actually lifts up to the 2nd story on the 2-story buildings so that we get more direct access so we're not kind of like spilling stuff over when we're doing our demo of the tiles. And there are also 2 more buildings behind these 3 that they're kind of like in motion, like, oh, we might want to do these 2 also when you're done. So we may end up doing a couple more buildings. And right now it's 290 squares. If we added the other 2 buildings in, it's closer to 500 total squares of work.
Wow, that's crazy. So we last talked almost 2 years ago. How has your business changed in the last 2 years from the last time we spoke?
Okay, so last time we spoke, I had just started this Jupiter branch. It had like just got going.
Okay.
We're looking at doubling our sales revenue here in Jupiter from last year, just year over year from last year until this year. We have so much of a backlog already here in Jupiter. Our Miami branch is kind of still doing the same thing. A lot of commercial work, a lot of high rises, condos, stuff like that. Whereas this branch here is doing a lot of residential.
Okay.
And the commercial that I'm doing is not really more on the condo side, but more in like commercial storefront side.
Interesting.
Like these buildings that I had just mentioned are like law offices and this kind of thing. And most of the commercial work I'm doing here, like I did a Ford dealership recently, a dry cleaning laundry place. So it's more like commercial storefronts rather than high-rise condos, because Miami is just littered with high-rise condos. Here they're a little more rare. So it transitions kind of what your target business might be when you're doing something like that. And then the other thing is that when we last talked, we talked about franchising. I was trying to push going into the franchising. Now I have already done all that. I have FDDs completed. I have an entire training program. So I have a manual, an operations manual that I wrote myself. I didn't hire some like tech writer or whatever to do it. I did it myself.
Yeah.
So I wrote the operations manual, and I have an online training program basically that you'll get when you're a franchisee. So I have video module classes that basically teach you everything that you need to know in order to do your franchise business. So and each one is like a separate topic. Like, okay, here's how you're going to do your accounting. Okay, here's how you're going to do your shingle roof estimates. Whatever it might be. Yeah. There's a different video module for each topic, and they're also going to get like in-person training with me for 2 weeks. Okay. Before they just go out into the field, go out into the world, thrown to the wolves. Yeah. But really, the model is great, and I just got the FDDs. So I'm still looking for that first franchisee who wants to start making some money with me. Yeah. But as we were doing everything, the lawyers were like, look, these numbers are great. Like, we don't usually see home service businesses with these kind of profits. So they think that it's going to do great. It's just finding the correct people now to come in and buy into the model and start taking up space in Florida.
Definitely. What were some of the challenges in developing those technical resources yourself, like developing the videos, developing the manual for that? Because a lot of people do outsource that kind of thing.
So for me, I had all this stuff in my head, right? And I'm like, I don't want to outsource it, because what's going to happen is I'm going to just spend time on the phone with somebody else saying, hey, you should say this, 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 and this. Yeah. And then they're just going to write down exactly what I said. And it's like, what's the point of like paying another person to do it when I'm basically going to be doing that work myself? Yeah. So I took it. It was a lot of time on my part to do all that. But I think that at the end of the day, everything's going to come out better, because you're getting the information from the source himself. Yeah. Not through third parties, technical writers, franchise consultants, whatever. Like literally, it's all coming directly from me. Yeah. And I'm the one in the field doing this stuff. So you're getting the information from the source itself rather than filtered through different mediums.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a really good point. I mean, so over that 2 years of doing that, has the industry changed at all, or is it currently changing? And has that been a challenge to have everything updated as you go forward with the franchise model?
Yes, so that's a very good question. The industry here in Florida is changing in a lot of different ways. Number one, home services market is very, very hot right now for private equity. Okay. I've gotten actually a decent amount of offers on my business because private equity really wants good home service businesses, because they see what's happening with AI and how, a lot of these businesses that we had maybe aren't the best because AI is just going to take it over. Home services, you actually need physical human man labor to do these tasks, right? So they're really hot, like cleaning businesses, ACE businesses, any home service business is really hot right now. Wow. So a lot of my competitors are selling their businesses, which means that a lot of my competition is now owned by private equity, and these people that are selling, they're now out. They're the roofers, they're the experts, right? They're now out. Now you have these people who are green in the business coming in, running these businesses, and they're hiring people who maybe aren't the best at what they're doing. Sure. So usually when you have a home service business like me, I'm like, I'm a great roofer, whatever. I'm gonna start my own roofing business because I can do it better than Joe Blow over here, right? Sure. So they start the business. So that means that I was an expert in my field when I started the business. Mm-hmm. Now you have people who are money people trying to learn this and run this business. Yeah. They're not experts in the field. So you have a lot of bad information going around and a lot of bad habits happening where I'll go to someone's house and they'll be like, oh, you're the only person who actually showed up. Everybody else just bid this on Eagle View. Or everybody else bid this from the office. You're the only person to go in the attic. You're the only person who even walked on the roof. Everyone else is just flying a drone around because they're afraid to walk on the roof. I'm like, what kind of roofer is going to be? Do you want a roofer to do your roof who's afraid to walk on the roof?
Yeah.
So this is what's happening with private equity getting in and buying all these businesses, is that it's coming from a money side. It's coming from the wrong angle kind of the management, where the management has no experience in the field and you're not getting that field experience at the highest levels of the business. It's only on the lower end, and they might not listen on the higher end of what the lower end is doing. So you're getting a lot of bad information and a lot of bad practices out there.
Yeah.
So really it makes it easier for me to sell my end when I'm dealing with a client.
Sure.
But market-wise, that's kind of what we're running into on the roofing. And there are a lot of new technologies too. So with roofing, there's a lot of new technology, not just with roofing, but with ancillary things like isoning is very popular now, spray foam insulation.
Interesting.
But a lot of technical people, a lot of roofers, for instance, will not go to these classes to learn about, okay, isoning is big. How does that affect the roofing system? There was a big class that was put on, and only like 3 roofers showed up in South Florida, in all of South Florida, for how is isoning going to affect your roof?
Wow.
And I was one of the 3 roofers or whatever that showed up. So I know now that if isoning is sprayed under the roof, you cannot put self-adhered underlayments down on that. But a lot of other roofers are not getting this information because they're not doing continuing education. So as far as the industry, what's going on with the industry, it's kind of a mishmash, because you have all these private equity groups buying in. People are not educated who are owning these companies now. And then people are also not educated because they're not going to continuing education courses to keep up on all the new technology that we have coming out.
Interesting.
They're just doing things the old way.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff going on, and most people are not keeping on top of all this new stuff going on. And it's not just with the roofing, it's with all home service businesses. So, you know, a lot of people might, from the outside, might think, oh, construction is construction. They've been building the same house, the houses the same way for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Right? You look at the pyramids, oh, they're 8,000 years old. Look at, those are great. You know, we're still building the same things the same way. But there are new technologies that are coming out now that are kind of something you might not think about. Nobody's going to think about the insulation in the attic, how that might affect the roof.
Right.
Or nobody's thinking about, oh, if you're putting solar panels on a roof, how's that going to affect the life of the roof? Right. So I just had to actually redo one of my own roofs because I had solar panels put on it 7 years ago, and the solar panel penetrations leaked. So I ended up just, it's actually on my YouTube channel, you can check it out, but I ripped the solar panels off on my own roof, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do my own roof now, even though it's only 8 years old. Because the solar panels. Wow. So these are things that a lot of people don't think about, how these new technologies might affect the kind of like the older the base technologies, right? Of the roof. So.
Do you feel like this is a short-term advantage for you right now, or do you think that this is like a long-term trend where you're like, these people will just continue to fall behind, and the people that stay informed on the technologies will create a separation and their business will grow exponentially?
It's an advantage for me with smart clients, right? With smart consumers. Okay. So the smart consumer who's going to do the research, they're going to find me on my YouTube channel and say, okay, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. Yeah. I understand now what this is or that is because I watch this guy's YouTube videos. Yeah. But the people who don't educate themselves, and they're like, I need a new roof. I'm going to get 3 bids, pick the lowest guy. Yeah. They're not educating themselves, so they're going to run into traps. They're going to run into pitfalls where, oh, now all of a sudden you have 20 change orders. Oh, or I thought my roof was going to last 25 years, and now it's only lasting 12 years, and it failed already because I picked the cheapest roofer at that time instead of doing my market research and hiring someone who actually knows what they're doing. So it is a competitive advantage, but only for the people who are going to put the legwork in to do the research. Sure. Whereas for the people, the regular people who don't care and they're just like, I'm just going to put a roof, whatever, there's no advantage because they're just going to pick whoever comes in at the best price point anyway. I mean, so you mentioned having an educated consumer is an important part, you know, of making it valuable for you to be educated yourself. What tools are you leveraging right now to kind of educate the consumer out there? You mentioned YouTube. Are you using other things to kind of share that education? Yeah, so basically YouTube. I have online tools such as like on my website page. I'm the only roofer that I know of that has this. Okay. But I have a custom algorithm that I build on the homepage of my website where anyone can go to and type in an address. It doesn't even have to be in Florida. It could be anywhere in the world. you type in the address.
Okay.
And it will give you a ballpark quote for whatever type of roof, shingle, metal, tile, flat, whatever. And it's gonna have a nice little range of low to high based on, upgrades and stuff like that.
Interesting.
But it's gonna give you a nice little price range. And what it does, it's gonna measure your roof. It's going to send you a report back of your roof measurements, and your price range is gonna be based off of those measurements.
Okay.
So there's this custom algorithm that I built that's built into my website where anyone who wants a quick quote can just go to my website, type in the address, boom, there you go. Now you know basically what you might be looking at, so you know how much money to save.
Yeah.
This is good because it will save a lot of time for anyone who is looking to find out, okay, I'm not ready to do my roof yet, but in a year or two, I just need to find out how much money I need to save.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that type of thing is good. A lot of other people are not thinking ahead, thinking of ways to save time and money, but this is something that other people should be looking into on, hey, how can we help customers save time?
Yeah.
How can we save ourselves time because we're not going out and providing and jumping on a roof and providing a quote and spending 2 hours on a quote when they're not even planning to do the roof in the next year or so anyway.
Right.
So these time-saving tactics are something that can be done to help boost in this area.
Yeah, I mean, and are those things that are built into your franchising model as well? So if someone franchised with you, they would get access to using those tools with their customers?
Yeah, so they're gonna get access to those tools and many others. I have pricing calculators set up where basically all you have to do for prices, you say, okay, I went to a shingle roof, it's X amount of squares, you put in type of roof, type of squares, boom, spits out the price. Okay, they wanna do 1 layer, 2 layers, they want regular shingles or upgraded shingles, and then it automatically spits out the price.
Yeah.
So I have all kinds of tools on the back end that make things go a lot quicker and a lot smoother. And my tools are accurate to the T.
Okay.
I tell you this because I did a quote for somebody at cost in January. And this was like an $80,000 roof that I did. And I was like, okay, I'll do it at cost for you. He's a military vet, whatever. I was just trying to be nice. So I did it at cost.
Okay.
$80,000 roof. At the end of the roof, after all my accounting was done, I made $18 on it. So that's how pinpoint my tools are, that I can quote an $80,000+ job and say, okay, this is how much I think it's gonna cost. And then at the end of the job, it was only $18 off from the 80,000 whatever dollar number. That's how on point my quoting systems are.
That's wild. Yeah. Well, I mean, who is the ideal franchisee? Is it someone that's coming from experience in the roofing industry? Is it someone that's totally green, has no experience? Like, who is that person that would be a great fit for your program?
It can be. So a number of different avenues here. If you're going to franchise with me, you will need to get your own roofing license.
Okay.
Reason being is that I want each franchisee to have their own unique license because we don't want one person to ruin it for everybody else. If I have 10 franchisees, one of them messes up somewhere along the line, we don't want that person to, ruin the whole thing for someone else. So that's why it's important to have where each individual franchisee will have their own license.
Okay.
Now, you don't have to have roofing experience. You do need construction experience or a partner with construction experience to get the roofing license in Florida.
Oh, okay.
So that's part of the process is you have to have minimum 4 years or you have to have a college degree with 1 year of construction experience in order to apply for the license.
Okay.
So once you get the license or you have a partner who's at least a minimum 10% owner who gets the license, which is a Florida state requirement that qualifier must have a 10% stake in the business. Once you have that, that's okay. You can have no experience and have a partner who has experience and come in and make it work.
Sure.
But as far as what I'm looking for, the main thing is they have to be motivated. They have to be willing to say, okay, I'm gonna come into a new territory. I'm great at sales or my partner's great at sales. We're gonna come in, we have no business here, and we're gonna blow this thing up. So the main thing is motivation. You have to be a self-starter, and you have to get that license. And if you can do those things, I will get you where you need to go because I have all the experience, I have all the tools to make anyone really be successful. Like a lot of times I would rather take someone with no roofing experience and bring them in than someone who has developed bad habits doing this somewhere else.
Right.
And then have to retrain their bad habits out of them because it's easier to teach someone who knows nothing a new habit than it is to have to retrain bad habits into good habits.
The one thing we've noticed all successful businesses have in common is their ability to efficiently manage customers and invoices. This includes everything from sending bids and email blasts to automating invoices and payments. Project 2 Payment isn't just the sponsor for this video, but we personally recommend them for payment and customer management. The best part is they're only $20 a month, and you can get 3 months for free by using the link in the description below. Can someone be located anywhere in the United States geographically, or is this a program that's limited to Florida?
This is, you can be anywhere, but it's easier for Florida because a lot of my requirements and a lot of my pricing and stuff is all based on the Florida market.
Okay.
Which is a great market for roofing. So if someone is interested and they're like, hey, you know, I'm up north in the cold, whatever, I'd like to move down to Florida.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity for them to come down and start making money because I will teach them all the Florida guidelines and all the rules.
Okay.
Great things about Florida in particular, the weather. We can roof all year round. We're not stopped in the winter and you know, hanging Christmas lights like a lot of other roofing contractors when bad weather comes around.
Sure.
We have hurricanes and Florida insurance. Basically, Florida insurance, you have to have certain age roofs. Like if you could have a perfectly good roof that's 20 years old and get that letter from the insurance company and says, hey, sorry, your roof's 20 years old, you need to re-roof it. And insurance makes you re-roof. So it makes it great. It's great. It's bad for the homeowner, but it's great for the roofer because we just have all this work coming to us, even for perfectly fine roofs, because insurance is going to make people roof. And you have to have windstorm insurance if you have a mortgage in the state of Florida. So if you have a mortgage, you have windstorm insurance. Windstorm insurance will make you get a new roof within 20 years.
Yeah. So. Wow, that's crazy. Well, one of the things that we talked about last time was the importance of finding good employees, and I think it kind of goes along with the importance of finding good franchisees. What's changed over the last 2 years? Has it been easier to find employees? Has it been harder to find employees, you know, to work for your own business specifically?
I would say that it's hard. First things first, I haven't needed many new employees lately because I'm really good at retaining my good employees to begin with. Just by paying them what they're actually worth, keeping them happy, and having a good company culture. Everyone else is cool. You know, usually I do like a company trip every year. I'll take everybody to a resort for a few days and treat everybody. People like that kind of thing. So if you actually have a good company culture, treat your people well, pay them well, then you're not going to lose people, and you're not going to have to replace a lot of people. With growth, obviously going to be adding new employees.
Sure.
I would say it is definitely harder to find good employees.
Okay.
Reason being is that thanks to COVID, everybody wants to work from home.
Sure.
And being a roofer, you have to go to job sites, so it's not like you can work from home. It's like, no, you actually have to go to the job sites. You can't just sit from home and do a roof. So it's like finding people who actually want to leave their house right now is kind of hard sometimes.
So that hasn't changed. That hasn't changed over the last couple of years. Like people still want to work from home.
People still want to work from home.
One of the things I think that struck us the last time we talked was the importance that you place on being a numbers guy and analyzing the numbers for your business. Has that changed at all over the last 2 years? And have you built kind of that mantra into the franchising model itself?
Yeah, that's it exactly. So basically I've built that into the franchising model. I am consulting actually right now for a few companies where there's other roofers and even non-roofers where I'm helping them build pricing systems. I'm helping them with their roofs. I'm helping them do accounting and stuff like this because a lot of them don't know this stuff.
Sure.
They'll be like, okay, I'm a great roofer or whatever, but they have no idea how to track work in progress accounting on a job or whatever. But that is a key thing that is a part of my franchising model is work in progress accounting. My accountant works with a number of different contractors and says, I by far have the best work in progress accounting system that they've ever seen.
Okay.
We basically know exactly how much money that we are at on any job on any given day. So you could open up, you could tell me, okay, are you making money on this job that you have, whatever. I can look it up and tell you, okay, I have made this much cash flow so far on this job and I am at this exact price point on expenses on this job.
Sure.
For any of my jobs in Miami or Jupiter on any given day. Because every day we're updating our systems on, okay, we bought this, this, and this, put it on our work in progress on our material expenses. Okay, we had to pay X, Y, and Z for labor out this day. That's going on this job for our labor expenses.
Yeah.
So we're tracking everything to the T on every single project for our work in progress accounting, which is important. A lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah.
They'll just look at every month and be like, okay, is my bank account up or down? They don't know what jobs make money, what jobs lose money. They might know in the back of their mind, hey, I think this job probably lost money because, you know, this didn't go right and I had to send the guys there for an extra 2 days to fix this problem on the job. So you might know in the back of your mind, but if you're not tracking it, that's a problem.
At the simplest level, is that just every single day you have an accurate snapshot of where you are financially, like on a job and within your business?
Yeah, exactly. So a long time ago, over 10 years ago, Star Wars, a long time ago, galaxy far, far away, I made a spreadsheet, right?
Right.
And this spreadsheet is customized where each job basically is at the top of the spreadsheet, and then the column on the left side is the date, and it has labor, materials, overhead.
Okay.
That's all we're tracking, labor, materials, overhead. So our labor is literally directly how much did I pay my guys hourly or whatever to that day to do that job, or even if it's a subcontractor, how much do we pay the subcontractor fixed price to do this job? Then materials, okay, what invoices were we sent by ABC Supply, Gold Eagle Supply, whoever, Home Depot, whoever it might be, did we get for that project on that day? So all my invoices, my guys cannot even use a credit card or buy anything anywhere unless there's a PO attached. That PO will say the job name.
Yeah.
Even if they go to ABC and they're there for to pick up materials for 2 jobs, they have 2 separate tickets, one for each job name. So it's easy for me to input on the back end from a material standpoint to each job.
Sure.
So that's how we track our materials. And then overhead, simply enough, is I divide all my fixed expenses on a monthly basis per day. So what I do is I can say my Miami branch costs me like $120,000 a month or something like that in fixed expenses. That's for salary, truck upkeep, insurance, office upkeep, the whole 9, right?
Yeah.
Same thing here in Jupiter. It's a little cheaper here in Jupiter because I'm a smaller operation here than my Miami branch, but my Jupiter costs me like $23,000 or $24,000 a month or something like that. So I just divide it evenly by how many work days I have each month.
Okay.
And I figure that out by 20 work days a month, right? We have about 22 business days each month, 22, 23, varies if it's a 28-day month or a 31-day month, whatever.
Sure.
And then there's rain days involved, so I factor a couple days off for rain days. So what I'll do is I'll just take my number, simply divide my fixed expenses by 20, and that tells me how much money I need to make on each day.
Okay.
Then what I do, to even get a more accurate picture, is I divide my labor force. So if I have 40 people out working on a day and 10 guys are on one job, very simply, I say, okay, 25% of my labor force is on this job each day.
Yeah.
Here's my daily overhead rate. I take that by 25%, and then I put it on my overhead. And I have calculators that are automatically doing this math for me. So every day I'm not just like, let me plug the numbers in.
Right.
It's automatically doing it. I just put how many guys divided by how many guys. So I just put in 8, 40, whatever, boom, then it spits it out at me what number I need to put in on that cell.
Yeah.
And I usually am not doing this stuff myself. I have people in my office that are doing all this stuff on the back end. Like I have one person's responsibility is each day go through our timesheets and put the labor in. A different person's responsibility is every day they're going through the invoices, putting the material expenses in.
Yeah.
And then a different person every day is going through the overheads and putting the overheads in, just to kind of split these responsibilities out evenly so that we don't have issues. And that gives a very accurate picture of how much our jobs are making at the end of the job, and even on the job. Hey, we're missing, this person owes us 30 grand. We need to get this progress payment in because we spent 58 grand on this job right now, and we've only received the first 30 grand.
Yeah.
So we're minus 28 grand on this project right now. We got to get this progress payment before we continue work at this job. So it gives you a very accurate picture on where you are on each job on a daily basis.
Would you say that kind of this adherence to systems and desire to have a system to run everything and the knowledge is based on experience that you've had or mistakes that you've made, like maybe like early on in your career in the business?
I would say less mistakes, because when I first got into this business, it's just the way my mind works. I'm like a very organized type A person, where I'm like, I need to categorize all these things and make this thing all make sense, right? Like I can't just go do things and shoot from the hip. That's just not how my brain works. I'm like the sniper. I'm not the guy with the machine gun shooting from the hip, right? I want to take one shot very accurately. So that's basically how my brain works. So when that's actually how I got into this. I think I mentioned it in the last time we talked. I was a teacher before I got into this.
That's right, yeah.
My father-in-law, we were not married yet, my now wife and I, but I was like, hey, it's the summer. I need to make some extra money. I've got a bunch of student loans. Can I work for you? And that's the first thing I did, is I would go out in the field and work and do repairs for $15 an hour. And then at night, we'd come back, all the other guys would start drinking Coronas or whatever, and I'd be like, I'm gonna just develop these systems. I was like, the way you guys are doing things is crazy to me. I was like, this needs to be more organized. So I just started doing it, And then by the time the summer was done, I made all these business systems, and he's like, yo, you can't leave because I have no idea how to do any of this stuff, and this all came from you, so you have to stay.
Right.
So I basically like made my own job by doing this kind of thing.
Maybe a better question would be, is it a mistake that you see in other areas of the industry to not have systems like this?
Yes, 100%. So when I first started getting into this, like I said, my brain worked that way. I read a bunch of books, right? I read E-Myth and I read all these business books, and I'm like, okay, we need to have systems. Systems are how the best companies run.
Sure.
They run based on systems. So I developed these systems. If you do not have these systems, you're gonna have problems somewhere along the way. You might have slow bleed and be losing money and not even realizing it until all of a sudden your bank account's out of money one day.
Yeah.
So these systems will tell you exactly where you're at, where you are. You'll be able to give yourself key performance indicators based on these systems and be able to find out, okay, this is where we need to improve. This is how we're gonna do it, and come up with plans on how to fix things instead of just going every day and saying, oh, you know, we got these roofs, let's go do them, and going out. You need to have plans in place, and you need to have goals in place in order to grow the business. That's how I was able to make a second location, because I knew how well the first location was doing. I had those systems in place, and I came up with a plan before I just came up here and said, let me just make a new branch. I came up with a plan on how I'm gonna attack a brand new place, how I'm gonna get sales, get new customers, and how we're gonna move things up, how much it's gonna cost me. I had all these things in place before I just went and did it.
Interesting.
And that's why on the franchise end, now that I've done it here in Jupiter, I came to a brand new location with 0 clients, had a lot of success, paid off all my expenses within 6 months that it took me to get this branch underway, and started making a ton of money right away. That's how I knew, okay, this is a proof of concept now for this franchise model, because I had success here. I did it. I opened a brand new location from scratch with 0 pre-existing clients and got it making a lot of money really quickly.
Yeah.
So I know how to do it, and I can help other people do that.
What would you say a realistic first year earnings estimate is for someone that is starting a franchise under your program?
All right, so I would say that to get things started, you're probably, the franchise fees for my franchise is a little less than 50 grand, which is pretty standard for home service.
Sure.
That basically goes to pay for the lawyers. That's not like for me. That goes to pay for the lawyers to do all the back end stuff to get the franchise running. After that is done, my money is actually coming from the royalty, not from the franchise fees.
Okay.
So we have royalties that are descending based on performance. So it starts at 8% royalty, and it can get down to a 6% royalty based on net revenue. How much revenue are you bringing in? The more revenue you bring in, the lower the royalty numbers get.
Sure.
I would expect my first year here in Jupiter, I did about 1.5 million. I would expect a normal person who's, not me, to be able to do around 1.2 million. You should be able to do 100 grand a month.
Okay.
Your expenses going in can range from, it could be the 50 grand and that's it if you have a truck and you just plan to work out of the truck.
Yeah.
To however bougie you want to be. If you want to have a nice office, or you want to buy a Raptor and whatever instead of a regular F-150 and run out of a Raptor, just depending on how bougie you are, might depend on what your expenses are going to be.
Sure.
But I'd say roughly you're probably looking at anywhere from $100,000 to $250,000 to get things moving until you start generating business. And then to re-get that profit back out, you should be running close to 15 to 20% margins on how much you're making. So if you're making 100 grand a month, once you really start rolling, and 20 grand of that roughly is profit, you'll be paying your expenses back if you spend 200 grand within 10 months. So that means that first year, you're already gonna pay yourself back, and you're gonna be making profits that are gonna cycle year over year as you grow. So my second year here in Jupiter, I did about 1.8, 1.9 million. And this year I'm expecting to do closer to 3 million. So you can kind of see how you snowball it and move things forward. You're gonna make more money, but you should be able to pay yourself back year one.
Wow. How important is it to be a good natural salesperson to be involved in the roofing industry?
It's important for at least one person on your team to be a good natural salesman. Now, when it comes to this franchise angle, I recommend that my franchisees will start with 2 people.
Okay.
You'll have one operations person and one salesperson.
Okay.
Your salesperson will be going out, generating business, joining networking groups, boots on the ground. Let's go meet people. Let's go wine and dine people, and let's start generating some contacts.
Yeah.
Your operations person is going to be making sure that whatever that salesperson sells is going to run efficiently. So they're going to be on the back end making material deliveries, checking material deliveries, making sure that the work is done in a quality standard, and doing the operations side of the business, paying out your subcontractors, paying your employees, and running the back end of the business. So my recommendation is for there to be two different people. One person has to be geared towards sales. The other person has to be geared toward the operations side of the business and have a mind to be able to do all this back end accounting stuff that we mentioned in the work in progress, being able to pay out people, being able to manage the job, schedule deliveries, schedule inspections, and kind of have a logistical mind for putting the puzzle pieces in the right spot.
So how, for you personally, how do you see your role changing as the franchise model takes off? Like, what happens to you?
What I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to replace myself and my own business, basically.
All right.
So right now I'm more or less running everything on the Jupiter branch, and I'm doing the macroeconomic stuff on the Miami branch. My Miami branch more or less runs itself because I have the right people in the right seats.
Okay.
It's not necessary at this point in time until I start getting franchisees in place for me to replace myself in Jupiter. At that point in time, I'm gonna have to hire people to replace what I do here at my Jupiter branch so that I can focus on training more people on the franchise end. So at that point in time, I'm gonna be basically transitioning to a teacher, consultant, guidance role for all my franchisees from actively also operating my Jupiter branch. So I'm gonna have to replace what I do on the operations and sales side here at my Jupiter branch to focus more on helping everybody rise together.
Interesting. So if you could give one pitch to our viewers who are watching this about why they should become a franchisee, can you wrap it all up and give us one overarching, why to go with this system when you're thinking about starting your business?
All right, Florida's a great market for roofing. We have hurricanes, we have insurance pushing roofs. Roofs are a big ticket item, so if you're interested in a home service business, ACs don't cost as much as a roof. Unclogging a toilet doesn't cost as much of a roof. Roof is a big ticket item, so you can make more money with roofing faster since it is a big ticket item. Roofs get damaged during storms all the time, so you have the whole insurance aspect to help with roofing. And you're outside. If you're someone who hates working inside on a computer at a booth, you're outside a lot. I love to work outside. I love to be outside. So if you like being outside, if you want to make money quickly on big ticket items and do something that is interesting, you're working, you're outside, you're moving, you're doing things on big ticket scale, like large scale items, roofing is a great business to get in, and especially Perkins Roofing, because I will help you get where you need to go. I have the systems in place already. I already have done this where I started a new branch from scratch, so I've been where you're gonna be at that point in time as a franchisee. There are not many roofing franchises out there, and many of those franchises have not done what I have done and personally started a business in a brand new location and done this. So I have proof of concept on the back end. And I know my systems work because I have 2 branches running that are making money. So I know these things work. So I'll help you make money safely without the risk, because everybody knows you start a new business, what is it, 9 out of 10 small businesses fail in the first 5 years or whatever it is. I started this business, no sign of failure whatsoever. Everything has gone great. So just based on that, you're also gonna do great if you franchise with me. I just think that it's a very low risk way to get into a high risk, high reward environment by coming with me and coming under my wing, because you're just gonna basically replicate everything else I'm already doing.
Yeah, awesome. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.